We have two progressives in the Senate, Tim Ash and Anthony Polina.
That's right.
Why do the bills get stuck there in the Senate?
Well, it has a lot to do with the committee structure. In fact, Tim is on one of the committees that a lot of these issues come to. Part of it is timing. Okay, I don't want to pretend that it's all sort of an evil mindset or anything like that. Part of it is timing and the way the bills move between the two chambers. We just didn't get to some because they were working on the jobs bill and other things. In the Senate, committees tend to cover more. There are fewer committees in the Senate than in the House. So the Senate committees have a larger portfolio, if you like, of issues than in the House side. So if we send them 15 bills and they can only work on 2, that's not necessarily their fault. But I am concerned with the child care worker bill and the paid and the credit check bill that there's some forces over there that are saying, no, we don't want those to move. Tim, I believe, would support them. He's on the committee. Anthony certainly does as well. So, being 2 members out of 30 gives you just a little more influence of having 5 members out of 150, I guess, but it doesn't mean you're in charge. So there's a lot of bills I would like to move forward that I can't seem to make that happen. So that's the way it goes. A lot of give and take, but also Anthony's brand new in the Senate, so he's got some learning and a learning curve, and seniority matters a lot. Tim's now vice chair after now that he's in his 2nd term, so presumably he'll have more and more influence.
Jason Lorber unsuccessfully introduced a bill to decriminalize the possession of 1 ounce or less of marijuana. Did you work with him on that effort, and what are the prospects for passing it next year?
I definitely did work on it. I'm another lead sponsor with him. There was 3 of us, a Democrat, a Republican, and a progressive on that bill. It didn't get far. We know that the governor would sign it. We know that there's some interest in it in the Senate. Right now, I gather the Speaker of the House is less than enthusiastic about it. So we'll be working on him in the summer and fall, see if we can soften him up a little bit. We did pass a dispensary bill, which eases access for patients who are using medical marijuana, but we heard testimony from 80-year-old women who were little old ladies saying, my husband's really sick and needs medical marijuana, and I don't know where to get it. What do I do? Go down to the corner and wait for some guy to come by and offer me marijuana? That's probably not going to happen. So there's a real access issue. The dispensary bill we passed this year is very limited. We're not going to have marijuana dispensaries on every street corner. It allows for, I believe, up to 4 around the state in very strict conditions, but it would give access to patients who aren't able to grow their own or whatever. That, in a sense, took up a lot of the energy around that issue for this session. It's now law, and so hopefully we'll be able to push on decriminalization. Marijuana, we're not putting a lot of people in jail in Vermont anymore for marijuana possession, but you do see an awful lot of stops, of court time, of police time dedicated to marijuana, and there are a number of us in the legislature and a number of states around the country who've demonstrated this can work, is you decriminalize it. So it's not legal. It'd still be a fine, but it's more like a parking ticket than some kind of possession charge that has more serious consequences. And this would be on a first-time possession kind of situation. For me, I think it's hard to argue really that marijuana is, say, more harmful than tobacco or alcohol. It's certainly widely used. I think we kid ourselves if we think that there would be a run on marijuana smoking if we change the laws around it. Prohibition has not worked. The war on drugs has not worked. Jimmy Carter wrote an op-ed saying we got to end the war on drugs. You have former presidents and world leaders around the world saying this is not working. This is spending billions and billions of dollars and increasing crime, in fact. So decriminalizing would be one small step. It's not a top priority for me, but it is important, and I think it's something I'd like to see us moving on.
There was a recent global commission on drug policy,
Yeah.
and they said that after they did the study, they said that the global war on drugs has failed.
Yeah. It's hard to argue otherwise. I mean, prohibition failed in this country, 100 years ago. It doesn't work. We should stop pretending it's going to suddenly work. It's not working. It's costing us a lot of money. It's costing us a human toll as well. People who use and are addicted to drugs have illness. They're not criminals, to my mind, and we ought to approach it that way and see if decriminalizing possession of a small amount of marijuana is a step in that direction.
Back in June 16, Shay Totten wrote an article in the Burlington Free Press about marijuana, and he pointed out that a study conducted on Lorber's behalf found that Vermont spent about $700,000 annually to investigate, prosecute, and lock up people who were simply in possession of 1 ounce or less of marijuana. That's $700,000. That would go a long way to helping us with our budget problems.
It certainly would, and I think Shay Totten would have written that for 7 days, not the Free Press, but yeah, I mean the data is there, $750,000, and that's real money. There are other priorities where a lot of us would like to see that money go, and we'll see if we can get there.
During the last week of January, the governor delivered his first budget recommendation, but it did not have any proposal for increasing taxes, which was necessary to avoid painful cuts in essential programs. This at a time when the wealthiest 5% of Vermonters are enjoying $190 million in tax saving due to the Bush tax cuts. Why can't we ask the wealthy Vermonters to pay their fair share?
Well, that's exactly the question that I've asked, and I hope before long we'll get a graphic behind us here